Brian Mast of Florida.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate the time. I want to start with you, Mr. Rule. You've spent a great deal of time on the ground in the Middle East, spent a career spending time on the ground in the Middle East, and I want to have you help us to understand the playbook for Iran. From your understanding, somebody that spent time there, what play does Iran run at a granular level to get influence, whether in Syria, whether in Yemen, whether with different groups throughout Saudi Arabia? What is their playbook that they are running to? As I've said many times, I think they're working to colonize every place that they can across the region, gain financial advantage, gain access to resources, gain influence in the government. Tell me, what playbook do you find that they actually run on the ground to execute those operations?
That's an important question. Iran has consistently used proxies, empowered, trained, and armed by a small group of individuals from a force known as the Quds Force.
Let me pause you there. I want to have you continue answer. That term proxy gets thrown around here all the time, even Quds Force, Iranian Revolutionary Guard. If you can, get even more granular, if you can, to answer that. What are those proxy forces doing on the ground?
They take a non-Iranian official, non-Iranian actors empowered with Iranian capability to conduct, in essence, actions that feed into Iran. And that is as different as individuals recruited in the United States to kidnap or kill this fellow witness, or using the Houthis to fire Iranian weapons, or training the Assad regime and working with the Russians to kill Syrian freedom fighters. And the reason for that is the international community does not respond to Iran for the work of its proxies. We treat actions in the United States, to include the threats against former and current American citizens, officials, as a legal issue, not an Iranian foreign policy issue. The world was generally silent when hundreds of Iranian missiles and drones aimed at civilian targets, to include 100,000 Americans, and we treated it as a local air defense issue and not an Iran issue. So for Iran, it's a winning strategy. It's low cost. It doesn't incur a threat of attack by the United States, and it's able to convince its targets that they should fear Iran, or that the United States will not stand up for them.
Let's continue on that thread. What do they use to create fear from their side of it to those that they want to engage with, to be feared or loved? What is their tool for that?
If you look at Sunni Islam, Al-Qaeda's #1 target was overthrowing Saudi Arabia. If you look at militant Shia Islam, its #1 goal is to adhere to the directions of the supreme leader and fostering the influence of Iran throughout the world. They employ the cruelest, bloodiest techniques. And one more comment to build on a comment of Masih Ali-Nejad. Their techniques are often involving tools of weapons of mass destruction, which means in the United States that would be explosives over sniper scopes, which means missiles aimed at a variety of targets. Do not turn left and right over American passports. It means women and children die along with their primary military target, because by doing so and having the world stand back and not respond, they're able to say, you're alone and you'd better listen.
The term you're looking for, I think, is indiscriminate, right? Versus when we put Soleimani into his place, it was into 5 pieces on the side of a tarmac where there was not collateral damage.
Absolutely. Absolutely, sir.
Get more granular with me, if you can, about their brutal tactics. What do they do specifically that makes you say they're that brutal and bloody, whether to their own people, whether to those that they would kidnap, as we have a family member here?
Within Iran, the leadership well knows what happens in its prison. We're talking about sexual violence against minors. We're talking about tools that leave innocent civilians blinded or peaceful protesters blinded. We're talking about coercion against family members that leave them with the threat of destitution or imprisonment. We're talking about people who disappear in their country in a way that it hasn't occurred in the region, save for Saddam Hussein's era in such a style. There is not a limit on their cruelty. There is, however, a limit on the amount of blood they feel they wish to spill at once, because they believe that in some ways is it shows a weakness of the regime. But narrowed, focused cruelty is a very effective tool inside of Iran. And Maslihan and Nijad, I'm sure, and Suzanne and Ben can comment on that.
I thank you for sharing your experience from your time on the ground in the region. Thank you. I yield back.